Hey guys, how you all going? It's Rick here from Games Bandit, pew pew, coming at you with another weekly video in the day of a life of a board game store owner at 3 a.m. in the morning. Cause why not? This is what we do, ladies and gents. So, today's video, specifically, what are we going to be talking about? Star Wars Unlimited. The inventory, the stock, where is it? I keep seeing on the daily more and more information coming out. There are more memes getting posted on the various social media groups about what's going on with allocations. Where is everything? Can we get more? What's going on in this space in general? So I'm also getting a lot of PMs, DMs, phone calls, messages, Discord calls, missed calls, everything you can think of, asking where the allocations are, because last week in Australia we were everyone received an email just notifying what was going to be happening with set 2 specifically, so everyone was on the same page. And I wanted to clear up quite a lot of the misinformation that keeps popping up on various social media groups about what's happening with stock. And I speak directly to the distribution themselves. As any of you know me, who know me personally, would say to my character, I like to get really beneath the surface of anything that I'm doing with regards to logistics of the store. That way I'm on the same page. I can give out as much accurate information as possible. And that's what I want to do in this video. I want to kind of align the community with what's actually happening. And that way, instead of me coming back with all these individual responses to all the emails I'm getting, this video could serve that purpose in a one-hit swoop swing. And it may even answer some of the questions that you already have or may have in the future. So what is happening? Let's go back a step here. So we're going to specifically talk about the Australian region, because that's the region we're representing and acting in. But this could also be applied to other regions of the world, if not the entire world in itself, with regards to Star Wars Unlimited. So let's go back a step here and talk about VR Distribution. VR Distribution are a distributor of board games, card games, everything you can think of in our side of the world. They were bought out by Asmodee in 2022, and you can read more about that in this article by toyworldmag.co.uk. You can also Google it if you want more information as well. It tastes really good. That's my tea for the night. So they still trade today as VR Distribution. They may change their names in future to Asmodee Australia or something along those lines, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to refer to them and all my future videos as Asmodee Australia, because I think that kind of gets the audience on the same page. The people who watch this video will be like, oh, Asmodee Australia, that's okay, that's the people distributing the game. If I refer to them as VR, not many people, well, not everyone would know exactly who they are, especially that wider audience outside of Australia. And I try to make my videos as international as possible. So Asmodee Australia is what we're going for. So in October 2023, Asmodee Australia needed to put in a quantity of their Star Wars Unlimited items. And I'm going to refer to Star Wars Unlimited as SWU moving forward. In addition, when I refer to anything to do with stock or inventory, I'm going to be specifically talking about booster boxes, because in any collectible card game, that's the meats and potato of any TCG. There are other accessories and pre-release kits, but I'm going to specifically be talking about booster boxes. So in October 2023, long before the game has even been released, right, they have to put in a quantity for not only set 1, but also set 2. And this is almost a very difficult thing to kind of get a gauge on when you don't have a data point to reference to. But yeah, so they had to put in an order for not only set 1, but also set 2. It's a pretty difficult task to kind of put that down when you don't have an exact data point or earlier set to kind of reel in how much they need to order. In addition to that, they're also jumping from the lily pad of Star Wars Destiny, which kind of had folded at this stage, and people may not have had the most optimistic outlook for the next IP of Star Wars in terms of a collectible card game. And that can kind of show when the game was released in our country and across the world. I remember it very clearly When the game got launched in Australia, like the first pre-release week and the 2 weeks after, there was still stock of booster boxes at the distributor level. You could order as many as you wanted to at that time, and that's part and parcel because I know for a fact quite a few stores in my area didn't want to get in the back of it. And for whatever reason, maybe they had a full schedule of other things to do with other TCGs like Magic the Gathering, whether they didn't want to expand their range, whether they were doubtful of the game itself. It could be a contribution of a number of things. Either way, I even remember at the time, I had a number of booster boxes that I hadn't sold yet, and they weren't selling by the case. And a case is usually 6 booster boxes in this instance. As more and more people actually played the game itself, it was very addictive. It's a rudimentary game that's very easy to pick up, but also difficult to master. You could probably play the game once or twice and totally understand the mechanics, but then you had a sprawl of 252 different cards and various combinations with leaders and bases that were color coordinated in order to master what was happening in your zone of the game. It was the perfect combination of fun, but still competitive. It had a little bit of everything for everyone, and the IP Star Wars was that kind of glue to everything that the game needed to thrive in our space. And so I remember people started to quickly jump on board and wanted more and more, and not only just 1 or 2 boxes, but wanted cases thereafter. And at that point, they'd already just been sucked up. There was like a quick turning point in this region where the more people played it, the more other people wanted to jump in, and then the more other stores that weren't necessarily on board at first also jumped on. That provided a bigger platform for the game to thrive by having more spaces available to play the game. And when you have more spaces across the country to play the game, it becomes more visible to a greater network of people who may not have even known that it was released in the first place. And so I think between, the pre-release to, 1 or 2 months later, we've had like 100 times uptick in the number of people who actually want to play the game or get involved or even collect. I generally find that TCGs fall into one of 2 categories. Either the game is very collectible, first and foremost, kind of like Pokemon. Most people, while there is a playable aspect to it and a competitive scene, most people are buying it to collect. SWU, I actually think the game is absolutely fantastic. And even the booster boxes are designed that well that you could pick it up and have a draft mode with, 4 to 8 other friends and, go from there. It's like designed and it's balanced so well at the moment on release that everyone's jumping in. So going back here on the 5,000 units, people may be critical that they should have, could have printed and ordered more for the country, but the reality is 5,000 units in booster boxes alone is a huge risk. I'm going to assume each booster box, I have absolutely no idea here. This is one of the first assumptions with regards to this video, is that they probably cost 100 Australian dollar dues for Asmodee Australia to purchase, including, overheads and shipping as well to get them here. So in taking that into consideration, 5,000 units, $100, do the math, $500,000, $500,000 investment in something that's not quite a proven concept at this point. And, it probably would have been really daunting for any of the, ordering specialists or people who were the ones, ticking the boxes to say this is the quantity that we wanted. So I think 5,000 was, very generous. It doesn't seem like a big number, but to me, it actually seems like a very big number, because if they're caught out with 2,000 to 3,000 units they can't sell or can't move on, then they're in a bit of a bind. So yeah, from here, as you know, the game's completely blown up. And so now we're walking into set 2. Here is where it gets really interesting in our side of the world. This is the kind of approach that VR or Asmodee Australia have taken. And I'm going to read this out from about the middle onwards, and it says here, While we continue to navigate through the very high demand for Star Wars Unlimited, we've implemented a new temporary system just for this set. That being Set 2, it's coming out next month, to ensure ongoing support for organized play without the risk of supply running dry. All booster supply will be exclusively channeled through organized play and select brick and mortar store locations via a customized allocated weekly supply subscription service. So, in other words, stores were told how many they were going to be getting at the initial release, in addition to post that, how many they would be getting post this, which is, the weekly amounts afterwards were significantly less than the original amount. The original amount was to get everyone on board, potentially running an event at their own accord with their community, and then to use whatever booster boxes came through at their, kind of just their best discretion in order to run events. So that's kind of happening in this space. And my kind of outlook on this is that it's probably, in fact, I think it is the best move on the chessboard. If I was to look at the chessboard and the position I'm in is where we're currently situated, is that you've got a game that's ridiculously in high demand. The supply doesn't meet anywhere near that currently is. How do we best address this for the longevity of the game? The problem is, if stores end up selling this directly to consumers in unlimited, quantity amounts, there's going to be a handful of people, the 5 to 10% of that market, investors, as some people refer to them in the community as scalpers, that will buy as much as they possibly can, drying up all the supply, potentially putting it underneath their bed, waiting for the value to go up when people are extremely desperate to get their hands on it, reselling it back out to the wider community at, 4 times the price. So that would be worst case scenario, because I think at the end of the day, at any store, what you want first and foremost is a strong backbone of your local community playing the game. And if it's me, in any and all of my allocation that I would be getting in this specific circumstance, I'd be isolating all of it to events, and I'd specifically be running casual draft events. That way I'm kind of facilitating the greatest number of players while spreading the distribution of the cards in my community as wide as possible. I'd probably also introduce like a bit of an open box policy, whereas if you come to the store to buy a booster box, I'm going to present the sealed box, and then I'm going to break the seal open, and that way those cards are now in the wider, the wider community. They're not going to end up under someone's bed, as we referenced earlier. So that's how I'd be doing it, or just distributing it via draft mode, which seems to be the best way to do it I've found so far from my experiences across TCGs. So where are we now? If you're a player or collector, because at the end of the day, I think the majority of the audience are going to be people who are players or collectors. What I would first and foremost be doing is the next time I go to my play spot, I'd be asking the organizer, the person running it, person facilitating it, are you going to be selling any booster boxes? Can you put me down on that list? If not, are you going to be running any event that I can, put myself down? Because I can absolutely guarantee what will happen is that you'll find certain people will drive 1 even to 2 hours to as many events as they possibly can, scavenging as many of the boxes or as many of the product as they possibly can, and that's the only way they're going to be able to do it. In my opinion, we don't know yet. We're still a month away, but I think stores not knowing what their allocations are, I think stores are going to absolutely struggle to distribute it via events, because I think events are going to be quickly overrun and they're going to be capped to a certain amount based on what you're allocated. So there's a bit of a give and take here. As an individual, a collector, player, I honestly think the best thing you can do, and you want to play with the cards, is to trade them with your friends or to buy singles on the open market. If you're going to struggle to find complete booster boxes in the open market, pending where you are located, in my opinion, the best thing you can possibly do right now is to jump on Carabast or even Tabletop Simulator. Start playing with Set 2 in an online environment. I wouldn't usually be advising this. I'd always say strictly play the game, in person, etc., etc. But this for now is a useful tool for you to, theorize, play, decks that you want to play with to know what cards in Set 2 that you want to attain. And because the demand for Set 2 is going to be so much higher, remember, we have the same quantity for Set 2 that came out in Set 1 in our region, but the amount of people is that much higher that it's going to be absolutely insane and a difficult task to obtain all the cards that you want. So in my opinion, start to play with Set 2 in an online environment where you can theorize the cards that you want to play and then try to trade for those cards that get in, either to your friends or purchase them directly from the market as singles. I think that's the best way to approach Set 2 if I'm an individual. And one other thing I want to kind of clear up is that we keep hearing that there's going to be a massive restock in June, which is now, we're now in June, in Australia, and that, we're going to have a plethora of booster boxes in the open market again. There is a restock, and I want to make this really clear. There is a restock, yes, that's come through Asmodee Australia in this coming month. However, that allocation was already exhausted 1 to 2 months ago with regards to what stores had requested. So much they had to remove it from the store, from their online store, so no one could order anymore. And I'm going to put my best foot forward here and say they're most likely going to distribute those effectively the same way, where they're balancing it out in terms of organized play to ensure that the most amount of people, that the game survives as long as it possibly can. Give it the legs that it currently needs in this space, because if they don't look after, in my opinion, the number one priority at the moment is the guys that are playing the game. If they don't look after them first and foremost, it could be devastating to the scene in our country. So I think Asmodee Australia have made the smartest move on the chessboard. The good news is for Set 3, they're getting, they've already ordered 3 times the amount for Set 3. Could that be even higher in the future? Possibly. But it's all positive signs. The game is thriving in our country. People are really enjoying it. There's a good market for it as well. And Set 3, we already know we're going to have a much higher quantity than Set 1 and Set 2. There was one of the, FFG heads that said that they're looking to reprint, Set 1 and 2 in the future, possibly for Christmas time. This is me making some assumptions here. I don't think they're going to print it into the ground. I think it'd be a bit of a mistake to print everything into the ground, and I think, there may be some people that aren't on board with what I'm going to say here, but if you print anything into the ground that that much, like we assume instead of 5,000 they order, 50,000 booster boxes, there is going to be so much more stock sitting on the shelves of the distributor that never left the distribution center in the first place, or in stores that simply can't move. So I think there are, when they say they're going to print it, I have no idea. I'm going to make an assumption here that they're not going to absolutely print it into the ground when they do reprints. I think it's going to be to stimulate the economy, the gaming economies in those regions, but I can't imagine that they're going to print it that much into the ground that, your Darth Vaders are going to be like $5 instead of paying $100 because there's too many of them out in the market. I just can't see that happening. So, yeah, I just thought I'd clear up a few things here, clarify, some of the queries, questions, concerns, comments that I'm seeing in social media, and I hope that kind of brings to light or enlightens a few of those points that have come up in more recent times. And potentially I'm just making this whole thing up, but if you like the content, give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button below. Let me know how excited you are for Set 2. I'm getting behind it. I don't know if I'm even going to be able to open any booster boxes myself. the ideal dream for GameSpanner was to be selling singles as much as we possibly can to the market to kind of facilitate that space. But with all the demand, serving the community and all that good stuff, I don't even know what's going to be happening with regards to the single market for a while. In set 3, we'll probably look to get on board by selling singles directly via the website, because there'll be a higher quantity, and we're hoping to secure a significant amount of stock coming through in that wave. But until then, we'll just keep playing it out. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Whoosh.